buddies, my name is John Solo and welcome to another episode of Plot Twists. This is of course the series where I reveal some of the ideas rejected from your favorite movies before they came to be. Sometimes it's changes in the plot, hence the name of the series, sometimes it's casting changes, and sometimes it's something else entirely. Today we are talking about Pixar's Finding Dory, the movie that currently holds the record for most times making me tear up in a theater, followed by The Good Dinosaur and Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. Please don't judge me for that third one. I was pretty young when the movie came out, and it was really heartbreaking for me when Frodo told Sam to go back to the Shire. I'm going to be sharing 7 twists with you guys today, and I'm also going to personally request that you stay until the very end of this one, because the last twist that I'm sharing is definitely my favorite. I say we get started before the undertow of YouTube takes you guys away. Here are 7 ideas rejected from Finding Dory. There was almost a sequel without Dory. If you watched my Toy Story 3 episode of Plot Twists, you may remember me mentioning a little studio called Circle 7 Animation. Circle 7 is the studio that Disney set up back in 2005 that was going to be responsible for creating sequels to Pixar properties. Lucky for us, it was shut down before it was ever able to produce a film. But it turns out that after Toy Story 3, the studio was going to set its sights on a Finding Nemo sequel. This wouldn't have necessarily excluded Dory from the plot, but you have to remember that this was just 2 years after Finding Nemo was released. The love for Dory, aka Facebook's most liked Disney character of all time, hadn't yet grown into what it is today. So with that in mind, she almost definitely wouldn't have been the focus of the sequel. Now I personally think it would have been pretty cool if they had made a sequel focusing on the fish tank gang from the dentist's office, or maybe one of the fish in Nemo's class. That being said, I am very happy with what we got, and who knows what's in store. Finding Dory was supposed to be released 6 months earlier. Can you believe that? We were supposed to get this blessing of a film all the way back in November of 2015. I know some of you guys aren't gonna like hearing this, but one of the main reasons for its delay in release is because The Good Dinosaur needed that release date. I know that The Good Dinosaur isn't everybody's favorite Pixar movie, but I personally loved it, and I'm extremely thankful I got to see it as early as I did. That being said, it does suck that we could have been talking about how cute baby Dory is or how ugly Gerald is 6 months ago. The original setting was going to be an aquatic park. This being changed probably doesn't come as much of a surprise to a lot of you. I watched Blackfish a couple of years ago, and like most people, I was absolutely disgusted by what I saw. Regardless of whether you believe the documentary to be entirely factual or not, it was of common opinion that what SeaWorld was doing was not okay. It's because of this that Pixar changed the setting to a marine life institute, and as a result, prevent backlash from audiences. The ending originally included fish being sent to a marine park. If you've seen Finding Dory, then there's no doubt that you remember the climactic ending where Nemo and Marlin were almost sent to Cleveland against their will. Well, the original ending was in the same spirit of this, with one twist: multiple fish winding up at the park whether they liked it or not. The executives, the higher ups at Pixar, after watching Blackfish themselves, decided that they wanted the ending to be changed so it appeared that the fish had a choice in where they ended up. And I think it was a really great call on Pixar's part to do this. One thing that stood out most to me about the ending is that every character seemed to end up exactly where they wanted. I think the ending would have been much darker if Hank, after deciding that he wanted to go back to the ocean after all, ended up going to the marine park against his will. The decision to still include the park at the end of the movie but also give the fish a choice about whether they ended up there or not was the perfect balance in my opinion. Hank was not going to be a septopus. One of the most memorable traits about the character Hank, who Dory meets while she's in captivity, is that he is not an octopus but a septopus. The poor guy used to be an octopus but lost one of his tentacles in a horrific incident. The funny thing about this is that Hank's missing tentacle is actually the result of a mistake that some animators made. The tentacles were modeled separately from the body and were made too large, so when they went to attach them to Hank's body, only 7 would fit. The writers decided that it made sense for him to have an affliction with him being in the Marine Life Institute, so they wrote it into his backstory. Phillip Sherman was planned to make an appearance. One of the more tragic canceled plans from Finding Dory was the canceled appearance of Phillip Sherman, the dentist from Finding Nemo, and of P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney infamy. I swear I'm gonna remember that address for the rest of my life. The appearance being canceled was the result of the voice of Phillip Sherman, Bill Hunter, dying of liver cancer in 2011 while the film was still in pre-production. I'm sure that his character wouldn't have played a major role, but I would have enjoyed the little throwback moment. Gerald could talk. There is no doubt in my mind that if you've seen Finding Dory, you remember Gerald. I really don't know any politically correct terms to describe his character, but I'm sure in me saying that, you know where I'm headed. Like, you've got to assume that his parents were brother and sister. Despite receiving constant harassment from Fluke and Rudder and straight up being used for his beautiful green bucket, he never speaks up and defends himself or gives them any sass back. Now I am particularly interested in what his voice would have sounded like had he spoken up. And an interesting fact that may coincide with this is that British actor Michael Sheen was expected to play a role in Finding Dory, but in March of 2016, just a couple of months before the movie's release, his character was cut. When you take into consideration that Idris Idris Elba and Dominic West, two other British actors, played Fluke and Rudder, the other two sea lions, it's possible to assume that Michael Sheen would have played Gerald. And with that, today's episode of Plot Twists comes to a close. What'd you think? Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you want more content like it in your sub box, comment your thoughts, opinions, and recommendations for future episodes of Plot Twists down below, and if you know anyone who would enjoy this video, be sure to share it with them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having an awesome day, and don't forget, John shot first.